David Violet here. Let's talk a little bit about language classification. There are interpreters that have English as an A, English as a B, or English as a C, and the same for any other language. And what does this mean? I'm going to use my own case as an example. I have an English A. That means I grew up in an English-speaking country and I have English as my mother tongue. A B means that you can speak that language very well, so well that you're able to interpret into it, even from simultaneously from your mother language, your A language. So taking my example again, I have English as an A and I have French as a B. This means that I do both from French, my B, into English, my A, and I go from English, my A, into French, my B. And in my case, I do that both in simultaneous and in consecutive. Some interpreters would not do it into B in simultaneous. And then there is a C language. A C language is a language that is not your mother tongue, but you have learned it extensively. You understand everything. Well, you understand everything that a very well-educated person understands in that language. But your active ability in that language is not up to par for doing interpretation into that language. That's what a C language is, and we call that a passive language. So a C language is a passive language, and I have Portuguese and Spanish as my passive languages. Now, I lived in Argentina for 7 years, and I lived in Portuguese speaking countries for over 7 years. So I speak Portuguese and Spanish very well. I am fluent, more than fluent. People tend to say fluent as if that was the ultimate. No, you can be fluent after a year or so. But to be able to interpret into a language, you have to enrich your vocabulary like crazy. You got to be able to say GDP. You got to be able to say everything that can come up in that language. That's an active language. Now, a passive language like my Portuguese and my Spanish, I can carry on a great conversation about many topics, but I have not sat down and nailed all of the terms that I feel like I'm going to need. I don't feel quite as proficient and broadly able to express almost anything under the sun in those languages. I would trip up on some of these technical terms. So that is a C language. And generally speaking, you go from a C language into your mother tongue. Now, I've learned recently that there are some professional, good interpreters in good standing, I think, who believe that going from a C to B is okay. I was taught that is basically not okay. And if you look on our AIC site, you'll be able to see how this is explained on our AIC site. Now, for example, if you are looking for an interpreter, what you want to do is go to the AIC site, which we are going to do right now. So here we are on the AIC site, and I think you can see my mouse there. Here we go up to this little hamburger menu, they call it. Click. No need to sign in. That's what I would do as a member if I was looking for other things. But if you are just looking to recruit a very professional interpreter for your meeting, you would go to Recruit Conference Interpreters, and then from there, find a conference interpreter. Click that, and you will land on something that says, okay, you consultant interpreters are people who can actually bring together an entire team for your meeting, but those people are also in this general directory, which includes all AIC interpreters who are members of the International Association of Conference Interpreters. And so you click on that, and you will get a menu that looks like this. What do you know? And here we have, you see this arrow. If you want to go from one language into another. Let's say that somebody has a meeting and they will need various interpreters, one of whom must be able to listen to some Brazilians speaking Portuguese and needs to put that into English for the English speakers. So you can look at this, click on this menu, go down to Portuguese. Here's Portuguese. So we're going to go from Portuguese into language into it. As we said, it's going to be English. So we're going to put English in this here. Let's say that your conference is in the United States, and so you'd rather it would be someone who is in an interpreter working in the United States. This is a worldwide directory for AIC. AIC is the only association of professional conference interpreters that is worldwide. And so we've got that in there, and let's not forget to say that I am not a robot. And then we're going to go look. Who satisfies these criteria? They can go from Portuguese into English. And I'm using myself as an example. Here we have David Violet. We've clicked his profile. We know that he's in San Francisco. We have all kinds of information, but the most important information is right here. Here we see that David Violet now has an English A. That means that's his mother tongue. And he has a French B, as we said earlier. In other words, he's worked on that language enough to be able to say pretty much anything in that language. And then he has two passive languages, a C in Spanish and a C in Portuguese. That means he does not go into those languages because he doesn't feel that he has a sufficient vocabulary and ease to handle even the rapid fire kind of people you hear in conferences. And to make it all easier for you, we've got these arrows. So you can see that I can go from my French, which is a B, an active language, into my mother tongue, an A, which is, of course, an active language. I can go from Spanish and Portuguese, my two C's, my two passive languages. I can go from those into English. You do not go from a C into a B. As you can see, the arrows, there is no arrow saying Spanish to French. There's no arrow saying Portuguese to French. It's just not really feasible, generally speaking, for someone to go from one foreign language into another foreign language. And then, of course, I go from my English A into my French B. We can see the arrow here. So there you have it. So there we have an explanation of what an A language is, a mother tongue. A B language is a foreign language that we've learned very well, and we can go into it very well in professional interpreting, both consecutive and simultaneous, at least in my case. And then you have the C languages, which are passive languages. For me, that's Portuguese and Spanish. And even though I've lived in countries of those languages for many years and I carry on conversations in those languages, I do not go into those languages because they are classified as a C, and they're classified as a C for a reason. I have not done the many hours of practice that I would need to be able to nail down all the many technical and not so technical ways of saying almost everything under the sun. I haven't done that work in my C languages, whereas I have in my B and, of course, in my A. So there is a little crash course on what these languages are, and also a quick crash course on how to use the AIC site, the International Association of Conference Interpreters site, to find a good professional interpreter for your meeting.